Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
All right, Trojan fans, former Oklahoma State linebacker Mason Cobb. Right here he is here, number 0. Just follow that red circle. You can find him. Watch him come down and nice display of going right to your run fit, making the tackle, wrapping up. Wrapping up was an issue for the Trojans last year. They didn't wrap up ball carriers. And you see him here just crash down and just wrap up the ball carrier, tackle for loss. You give this Trojan team the ability to do that, you'll see them kind of climb up the ranks of the defensive standings in the NCAA. So here he is here, and nice play here. Didn't fall for any fakes or anything like that. Goes right to the quarterback, puts one right in his ribs, and puts pressure on the QB. Again, see, I love the pursuit here by number 0. Mason Cobb. Here again. No fake. I'm not worried about the fake. Good defense there. And he puts the quarterback on his behind here. You want to see that a lot for the Trojans in this upcoming season. Look at him here. Again, nice pursuit of the ball carrier. The quarterback kind of fumbled the ball there, but hey, that's not the defense's fault. You got to go make your play. Another tackle for loss for Mason Cobb. Good balance there. Good wrapping up. That's the biggest thing. He wraps up the ball carrier for a loss. I love this play here. You look at him, busts up the middle and gets just enough to the quarterback to get a sack. They call that a sack. In the standing, in the stats. Another one here. Look at him here. Boom, come right up the middle. Makes the play. Tackle for loss. You want to see as many tackle for losses as humanly possible when you have Caleb Williams as your quarterback. Mason Cobb again. Just going to get a last look at it before we start our show. Up the middle. And disrupting the timing in the play. That's a quick look at Mason Cobb. And now let's start the Student Body Right USC podcast. And welcome everybody to a glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. It's been raining. It's been cold. It's almost, a little bit of snow out there in Los Angeles. So it's not been your usual Southern California weather, but hopefully this rain kind of subsides and we can move on to nicer and better things. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, and then the like button. Hit that alarm as well so you can see when we're going to do a new show. First part of the podcast, we kind of chronicled Mason Cobb. Kind of gave him an all 22 view for you guys to see what he can do for this USC Trojan defense. We hope that he's able to do those things. I mean, he has missed a lot of tackles last year. He also made a lot of tackles. So hopefully his ability to wrap up defenders is something that he can bring to the USC Trojans because they need it badly. I mean, they desperately need it badly. So many games we watched last year where the plays were diagnosed the right way. People like Shane Lee filled the hole and they weren't able to bring the ball carrier down. And that's the idea of playing defense, is to bring the ball carrier down. And as great as Caleb Williams is, as great as this offense is, as great as Lincoln Riley as a play caller is, you just want to see him get as many possessions as humanly possible. And if this defense can get stops and get turnovers and stuff like that, and I know they were one of the best in the league, the best in the country with turnover ratio last year, but sometimes you just need to get good old fashioned stops, and they need to be able to do that in critical situations. And we'll see if they are able to do that. I think Tackett Curtis is going to be a big part of that. And I think Mason Cobb is going to be, a big part of what they want to do, especially stopping the run. You can't let people just line up and just run the football down your throat. And because these coordinators in the Pac-12 are, in the last year in the Pac-12 are going to do that. They're just going to run the football right at you to see if you can actually to see if you actually can stop it. And that's why I kind of wanted to take a look at what Mason Cobb could do or what he did last year at Oklahoma State. The transfer over here now, number 0. I'm not sure if he'll be number 0 where you see with USC this year, but we'll see if he can have the ability to sack the quarterback and get tackles for loss. Those are going to be huge pieces for the for the USC Trojans here going forward. Deuce Robinson, we talked about him before, and we know what he brings to the table. And the Trojans have so many offensive weapons, but none can bring to the table what Deuce Robinson can bring. And right now, it's that battle right now between the Trojans and the Bulldogs, and we'll see if that what comes to fruition there. But if you're Deuce Robinson, I don't. Georgia is a absolute factory. So is Alabama. I think Lincoln Riley is trying to get USC to that point where where they are that factory again. That West Coast factory just keeps bringing out 5-star, 5-star, 5-star all day and all night. But how could you have a better situation than playing with Caleb Williams, who spreads the ball around, who makes plays out of nothing when the defense does its job and everything like that. I mean, they have a plethora of wide receiver talent, but Lake McCree is just a solid tight end. Malcolm Lee is a solid tight end. Those guys are solid players, but they're not what Deuce Robinson can bring. Deuce Robinson is Jimmy Graham. He's that Tony Gonzalez type for the college game. I'm not sure what he's going to be as a pro, but that's the situation that you're coming into. You're playing with one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, with one of the best play callers in all college football. I mean, Georgia is no slouch. I'm not going to sit there and try to badmouth Georgia. Kirby Smart has done a great job with the Bulldogs, and they're one of the best teams. They're going to be one of the best teams in college football for a long time, as long as he stays there. I mean, that is just, they just churn out top five picks left and right. But if you're a skill position player, I can see if he was a D tackle or D end, and you had questions about playing for Alex Grinch and coming to the West Coast to make an impact that way. But if you're a Deuce Robinson, and obviously you have some aspirations there of playing baseball as well, I think SC is probably the best fit for you. Georgia is also a really good baseball program too, but they do have a slew of tight ends who have come into their facility and are going to be on the team this year. And while you have that opportunity with the Trojans to be the guy, you're not fighting to be the guy. And then you have another year of eligibility where you can play with another fancy tight end, Walker Lyons, and you have another young star quarterback in Malachi Nelson coming in the year after. So this is a great opportunity, I feel like, for Deuce Robinson. I know that decision, he wants to make it on April 1st. I mean, it's a big decision. People think it's easy. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily easy for a young man to make that decision, because I think it makes it a little bit easier because you can transfer if it doesn't work out. But I think when you set up shop, you want to just stay in one place and set up shop and be there for a long period of time. And I think SC is a great spot for him. I don't see how it wouldn't be a better spot for him, because this guy is, you have when your quarterback and one of your best players is your hardest working player, that's cool. Like you can't beat that. You can't beat the fact that when your best player is the hardest working guy on the team and demands excellence from everybody, that Patrick Mahomes type, that Tom Brady type, that guy who's just a relentless leader, like Caleb Williams is, that you can't help to play with that. And I think that when it's all said and done, it just makes sense. It just kind of, we'll see if it comes together. But I would love to see Deuce Robinson make that jump to SC, not because this is an SC show and an SC channel along with the Raiders, but it gives you an opportunity to just star, to be a starring role, to be this generation's Mark Andrews or Lincoln Riley's version of Mark Andrews here with SC. Great opportunity for him to do this, to do some special things here with the Trojans, and we'll see on April 1st, I believe, when he wants to make that decision. The Pac-12. So USC, UCLA. I think the thing when yes, you might hate if you're a Washington fan, if you're a Utah fan, if you are one of these other a fan of the other teams, I get it. You hate USC and you hate UCLA and you hate Los Angeles. I get it. But I use this term a lot. Brothers hate us because brothers hate us. And I say that all the time because without those hated rivalries, those hated teams, like what is the Pac-12? And you're finding out that the Pac-12 is not much without having USC and UCLA in it. And that's why George Klekoff is whatever his name is. I can never say his last name. He's struggling to find a home for some of these teams and for his conference. He's trying to get, San Diego State to come in. San Diego State has a pretty good football background, not a national championship level, but there have been a lot of pro players who've gone from San Diego State to the NFL. SMU, he wants to bring SMU along, but it's just not something that's looks like it's going to work at all. And I think that's going to be a problem. And it's going to be, when you don't take care of your job, when you don't do your job, and you kind of take it for granted. And I think that's what it's pretty easy if you're a commissioner of a conference to take your job for granted. To just say, hey, I'm making high six figures, probably over $1 million. I can go to game, I can go to whatever game I want. I can just be, I gotta go yachting, do golf stuff and all that stuff like that, and smooge with all these people. But what do you do when you're responsible for the conference falling apart? Think about this for a second. Like you don't have football. You can't sell football to anybody. How embarrassing is that? You can't sell football to anybody. Like all these streaming services are dying to get football, and you can't sell football because you don't know what's going to happen when the two LA schools leave. I'm not saying, everybody should have put UCLA and USC up here and not. I'm just kind of ignore the rest of the conference. But I think it's pretty clear that like you needed the LA TV market. There's a lot of people live in Los Angeles. Like a lot of people live in Los Angeles and Southern California. And there's so many alumni from those two schools and everything like that. Those are the two most powerful entities in your conference. And you couldn't take care of it. You couldn't make it a lucrative situation for them to want to stay. The TV deal, the Pac-12 network it was just an absolute joke. It was horrible. The YouTube situation where, you go to YouTube, maybe you missed a game, you want to see highlights of a game. You can go anywhere else and see, Utah play UCLA highlights, extended highlights, like for 20-minute highlights of the game. The Pac-12 highlights of that game, 3 minutes. What are you guys saving on? You don't want to pay the video editors or something like that? Like independent people, I forget the name of somebody's websites, but they do a better job of giving you a full edit, a full extended version of these games and these highlights better than the Pac-12 does. media day with all the compelling stories with UCLA and USC and Utah and all that stuff like that, and then you end up not even showing it live. That wasn't even shown live. You had to go to the website to find it. It wasn't even on your network. I think women's lacrosse was on. Bang up job, Pac-12. Unfortunately, what was a great tradition of West Coast football is now going to die in the hands of Klekoff, who just doesn't have the ability to kind of barter deals and make deals happen. And if you're not a deal maker, you can't be a commissioner. Because if you're a commissioner, that's all you're doing is making deals, left and right. So I think you're almost saying in a lot of ways death to the Pac-12. I think it's over after this year. I think fans should enjoy it, embrace it, but it's over after this year, and it's going to be a sad situation because it could have been prevented if the Pac-12 had proper leadership as far as that goes. Tommy Group steps in here. So the Boulevard was around as an NIL entity for USC, and that was from USC. But now the Tommy Group with they have some prominent names there. Most prominent names that you might know would be Keyshawn Johnson. They had an event the other day, where everybody was there as far as the coaches, the players, all that stuff like that, in downtown Los Angeles. So, the space has not been great for SC in the NIL. Everybody thinks NIL is just like we were walking around. I was walking around with suitcases giving SC players money. Right now, SC is just trying to find the entity to have this be successful. I know with the Boulevard being dead, they're trying to bring up another NIL through the school. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But right now, Tommy Group is trying to put the full court press on, if you will, to try to improve NIL and get a proper collective for the SC program. One thing we gotta stop here is I'm all for the back and forth on Twitter. It's fun. I don't take anybody seriously. Everybody's gangster when they're behind a keyboard. So I don't on their smartphone when they're 3,000 miles or 2,000 miles away from you. But this whole thing with the Buffalo fans just going crazy and talking a lot of trash about all these other programs because you got Deion Sanders. Like let Deion build this. Okay. Let's see how this whole Colorado Buffaloes thing works. Are we going to get these some recruits have gone there, but are we going to continuously get big time recruits to go play for Colorado? I mean, that's going to be a question. Now they've had some wins, and they got a star running back who went from Notre Dame to Colorado. That's a win, no question about it. When was the last time any player chose who was involved with Notre Dame went from Notre Dame to Colorado? I get it. So, but if you're going to be running your mouth about stuff with other programs like UCLA and USC and Utah and stuff like that, like let's slow your roll. Let's just see how season 1 goes. And he actually kind of did himself a disservice by coming to Colorado and not looking at the landscape, because this conference is going to be in shambles. So he came to a conference. I think if Deion knew the Pac-12 was going to be such a mess, I'm not sure if he would have came, but he came, and we'll see. We'll see if his Louis Vuitton luggage can battle the rest of the teams in the Pac-12 for year 1. And I'm also going to see. I'm interested to see how good of a quarterback his son is too, as well. So we'll see. We'll see. But let's calm down on the mean Twitter streets about whether or not he's going to be some dominant force in the Pac-12. Eric Grinchey went through ankle surgery, so we know about that. We know Eric Grinchey was going through some things physically. But the guy is just, I mean, the guy's when he was healthy, he really gave the Trojans a big boost in that linebacking core. I still think he's misused. I think he is so long and athletic, and he might be one of those guys who is just tough to put weight on. But with that being said, like let's give him an opportunity to cover some of these tight ends. Like, I mean, not only if he's around his wingspan is just huge. I mean, how tall? I mean, like he's immensely tall. He's so long. He can get in the passing lanes. I mean, he can do all these different things, and you want to see him be a little bit bigger, a little bit more. Get a little bit, physically bigger. But I mean, we'll see if he can put on weight. Some guys who are that size can't put on a lot of weight. They can't put on a lot of weight. So we'll see if they're able to do those things with the weight room and the training staff to get him up to par as far as that goes. But I don't want to lose any of that quickness. I like the quickness. I love the quickness of what he can do. And I think his long arms. How many times did he bat passes down and that ended up getting intercepted or intercepted balls himself? I mean, that's really cool to see his ability to make plays as far as that goes. I get a lot of questions about what I want to what we want to what I think is going to happen as far as the wide receiver core goes. I'm not going to make too much of a big deal about it about the wide receiver core. I think that Brendan Rice came back for a reason. I think that the game against Tulane. I mean, if we can get any of that from Brendan Rice, I think it's just sometimes just like when you don't get the ball as much as and the ball's being spread out a lot and you press a little bit. I think he was pressing and dropped a lot of balls, but I think obviously he showed that he has a lot of ability. So yes, I expect him to be an integral part of it. They're going to move people in and out, and then after this, we're getting up to speed and getting closer to the spring game. Once spring football is over, you might see another bunch of Trojans transfer out because they might say, okay, I can't beat out, Brendan Rice. I can't beat out Dorian Singer. Oh my God. Did you see Zachariah Branch? Like, I mean, how am I going to play over him? So, and then not to mention people like Mario Williams and Taj Washington who were there last year. The freshmen, the two freshmen look, and they're gonna look good. I mean, Makai Lemon is just a big, strong, long wide receiver. And then, when people keep telling you that Zachariah Branch looks like Tyreek Hill, I think at some point you gotta start believing him a little bit. I mean, yeah, I know he's a freshman in college, but he just has so much ability to get open down the field. He can just he's one of those guys who can take a screen pass and go 80 yards for a touchdown. He can do so many different things. And I'm excited to see. I think we're all excited to see what Caleb Williams is going to be able to do with Zachariah Branch in the future because he is just incredibly talented, incredibly gifted as a pass catcher and can do so many things. And then you look at this offensive line, obviously a lot of questions about that. But I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, listen, as far as that goes, they're talented as hell. Like this is a big group. This is a nasty group. The kids from Florida can play. They have depth there. So now if somebody gets hurt, it's not going to be like last year. It would take a rash of injuries for them to not have any depth there, or people transferring out. But I love what I see. I love what I see on the offensive side of this team. But I think the one spot where you can look at, you can say, hey, like McCree, I said Malcolm Lee, I meant Malcolm Epps, and then Jude Wolf. I mean, those are guys who they're not great tight ends. Maybe they can sneak some passes in there every once in a while. I mean, Deuce Robinson he's just sitting out there. And if they can, if he makes a decision to come to USC, that's gonna be a great one for him. And I think also for Caleb Williams, give him that tight end outlet, if you will, in the middle of the field, because that's the part of the field where you'll love to see the Trojans take advantage of in the future. All right, Student Body Right USC podcast. We're going to kind of go over I think next show we're gonna go over some all 22 again. This time, I'm gonna see if I can get some Jared Kingston for you. Jared Kingston, Washington State transfer, one of the best offensive linemen in all of college football. I love watching the trenches because that's where the game is won. So we'll see if we can get some of that as well. Also some Keon Bars as well. So let me get both of those down. So we have Keon Bars, some Keon Bars. We're gonna get some Keon Bars, and then also some and some Jared Kingston for you as well. So we'll have both of those guys kind of put them on a microscope, see what they can bring to the Trojans in the future as well. And look, listen, maybe we'll get lucky and Deuce Robinson will just make I've seen in basketball videos that everybody that he's doing some Dominique Wilkins type dunks, if you will. So that's nice, but we also want to see him in a Trojan uniform. So we'll see if that's something that comes through for Lincoln Riley and company later on. So all right, Trojan fans, thank you for supporting the show. Keep it up. We'll bring more content to you in the future. And as always, fight on.